Hello everyone and welcome to Handmade by Trish. Hope you all had a lovely Christmas. It's now the 28th of December, so just a few days away from the new year. So wishing you all a new year as well. I'm recording this video to go along with the tutorial that I'm going to be launching in January. I've already for several months now been doing a weekly tutorial that I send out by email. So anybody who would like to sign up to that, then please contact me via my website www.handmadebytrish.com. And I will send you the weekly tutorial. The first week in January is going to be based on simple stamping. So this is the card that I've designed for that. And I've used this hand-penned petals stamp set, and what I love about this stamp set for simple stamping is the images actually don't marry up. You will notice on here that it's not strictly marrying up, which actually for simple stamping is really great because you don't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be exact. In fact, it isn't. So that makes it very easy for simple stamping. So that's why we're going to do this. Now, there will be the written tutorial that I email out. And this is to go with it because I thought for those that want just something a little bit extra, I've done this nicer fancy fold corner fold card. So it's actually, well, you'll see how we do it in a minute. But most of the steps up to once we get to the fancy fold are the same for this. So I'm just going to put these to one side and let me give you the measurements. So the card base is one piece of cardstock, 21 centimeters long by 14.85 centimeters high. And we're going to score this piece at 10.5 centimeters, and that's going to give you our card base. I'm thinking I might just turn this light on too. That might be a little bit better for you. Don't know, maybe not. So we're going to score it at 10.5 centimeters. Then just using our bone folder, we're just going to crease that and burnish it, so that we've got a nice folding card base. Just going to pop that to one side for a minute. Here we have cut a piece of the designer series paper. This is double-sided, but we're going to go with this side here. This paper is out of the hand-penned, I can't see it with the light, hand-penned designer series paper. This paper coordinates beautifully with that hand-penned stamp set. So there's lots of different choices of paper you could use for this. This is the one I've chosen today. We've also got a few other pieces of paper we need, so that's going to be for the background of our card. Then this piece is for the inside, for the insert, and this is 10.5 centimeters by 14.4 centimeters. Now this I wanted just a fraction smaller. So this is 9.8 centimeters by 14.2 centimeters. So it just gives you a 1 millimeter edge all the way around. So you'll see it's a very, very fine edge. And the reason I've done that actually is for it to tie in with this penned type look. And you'll see from the sample card I did, it's just to marry it up with this inked black image that we then colour in. Now these are the little squares for the front. So this square is 7 centimeters squared, so 7 centimeters by 7 centimeters, and this one is 6.8 centimeters by 6.8 centimeters. So once again, it just gives you that very fine 1 millimeter edge all the way around. Must excuse my fingernails, I was out in the garden today. I did wash them, but yeah, maybe I need the nail scrubber on it. Okay, so it's pretty simple for, let's do the inside because that's the same for all of them. So using my Stampin' Seal, I'm just going to adhere the white onto the black. just a little bit in the middle. Now, as I said, it's really such a fine, just a 1 millimeter surround around all of the edges. So there we are. And then if we just put some Stampin' Seal on the back of the black piece, that can be adhered straight into our card. Now, there is a little bit more of a border around here, so just center it on there like so. Now, if I was just doing the simple one, I would adhere this straight onto here, and I'm going to show you a little tip in a minute on the easiest way when you're trying to fit a piece of designer series paper that is exactly the same size as the card front. I'll show you an easy way to do that, but before we do that, we'll get our panel ready. So on your piece of basic white cardstock, we're going to stamp in the Memento Black. We're going to stamp our flower and leaf outline. So just going to ink that up. And I've stamped it, because I've put the thanks on there, I've stamped it kind of not too much on a lean, because I want to create a bit of a gap here where I can stamp the thanks. So I'm just sort of putting it on that piece of Whisper White. Oh, it's not Whisper White, basic white now. And so there we have our flower image. Just going to grab my stamp chamois and just give that a clean. Okay, so with the little thanks stamp, which is in the same stamp set, we're going to ink that up also in the Memento Black. And we're just going to stamp that in that space there. And there's our thanks. Let's clean that one up too. Okay. So we're finished with the black ink, so we'll just pop that to one side. So the colours I've used, I have gone with the Pear Pizzazz for the leaves, for the green. And like I said, the stamps actually don't marry up to the image. So there's two stamps. There's two leaf stamps. There's a biggish leaf and a little leaf. Let's drop that. And I'm going to start with the big leaf. And I'm just going to stamp that in the spaces that are a big leaf. And as I say, they don't marry up, so you can't really go wrong, because there is no right, really. So I'm just stamping it in to sort of fill colour into that space. Now I'm going to take this one off and swap it for the little one. And we're going to do the little leaf with that. But we're also using the same stamp, just going to do this bit where the top of the flower stem is. So I'm just going to clean that up. For the big flower, for the main flower, the inside once again doesn't marry up, and I've used the Pale Papaya for that one. And just, so you just need to roughly line it up. There's no real lining up, because as I say, they don't match. So you'll see it's looking a bit splodgy because my ink pad's a bit bubbly at the moment. There's so much ink on it, but actually as it dries it settles down a bit and looks quite nice. So that's that one. And then for my smaller flower, I used Blushing Bride, which is this one here, Blushing Bride. And just kind of roughly, just line it up roughly. And so there is my stamped flowers. Just clean that last stamp and close up this. So now that I've done that, using the Stampin' Seal, I'm going to adhere this to the black background. Once again, this one is really thin, so it just gives you a 1mm border all the way around, like so. We're just going to pop 5 dimensionals on the back here. Whichever card you do, whether you do the basic one or the little fancy fold one that we're going to do, it's nice just to give it a little bit of dimension, which is why I've popped it up on dimensional. So I'm just going to pop that to one side while we get ready the card base. So I am just going to show you how I line up when the piece of paper is exactly the same size. Now you may not have a Stamparatus. This is my Stamparatus and this is what I use, but maybe some scoring boards would also do it. What you want is you want somewhere where there's a corner and a ridge so that you've got something that you can butt it up against. So if I was adhering this down to here, I would put my double-sided tape on the back and I would put this in here, and then when I put it in, I would actually, before I put the paper down, I would butt it up so that it's butted up and then just kind of let it go, and because it all butts up to this corner, it will be straight. But we're going to do something a little bit different with this card. So that was what you would do if you were just putting the card down, and then with the dimensionals on you would place your card top on the top. But we're going to do the fancy fold one. That's the one we're going to show you. So getting your paper trimmer. Now if you don't use the Stampin' Up paper trimmer, you want to have a paper trimmer that has a guide on here for you, because you need to use the side guide when you're cutting out these bits. So the way that this fold works, we're going to put this piece of paper in here. Now if you remember, we want well, our picture piece is 7 centimeters square, and we want to have a bit of a border around that. So we're going to make it 7.5 centimeters that we want to start cutting. That would leave us 3 centimeters here. This is 10.5. So if we go to 13.5, when I go to cut, that is going to be cutting in at the 7.5. So I'm going to line my cutting blade up on that side ruler that I showed you, and I am putting it on the 7.5 mark. I'm pushing it down so it'll pierce the paper, and then I'm going to cut upwards until I get to the 1 centimeter mark. I actually want it to stop 1 centimeter from the top. I'm going to lift it up, turn my paper around, line it up at the 7.5 centimeter mark. Now this I want to still be remaining at the 1 centimeter, so I'm going to push it down, I'm going to push it and then go down to the 7.5 centimeters. Now when I do that, you'll see I've cut this out, but I've got 1 centimeter here and 1 centimeter here holding it, not taking it from the card. So this piece here we want to lay on top, but we need to cut out that 7.5 centimeter square from this side. So if this is 10.5 centimeters, we want to come in 7.5. It means we'll have a 3 centimeter. We want to line it up to the 3 centimeters. Line it up on the side ruler at 7.5. And then we're just going to drop that down, and then this time we're going to go all the way up. We actually want to cut this away. So I'm going to now line it up on the 7.5 centimeters. Go back to the 7.5 on the ruler, and then go all the way up. So now that's cut me out a 7.5 centimeter square, and I'm left with this piece here. There's just one last thing I want to do with the trimmer, and this time I'm going to use the scoring blade. I'm going to put my card base in and close it down and see. You just want to see where the start of the cutting, where you come in at the 1 centimetre. I just want to see that appearing in my little runner, and I'm just going to score it just that little bit. You'll see in a minute when I pull it out. So if you look at this, you'll see the score mark there and there. And I've done that just to help. If you don't have a scoring tool, you don't have to do it. You actually can fold it over without that, but it will give you a little bit of a neater fold. So now when I fold this over, use my bone folder to make it a nice crisp fold. I now have my base for which my picture will go on. But I do want to line up this piece here. So in order to do that, I actually need to cut away some small triangles. I like to use the back side so that there's no risk of any of it being seen. And what I'm going to do is, using my ruler, I'm going to make a mark at the 1 centimetre mark along the short top bit, and then along the inner bit where that square came out. So I'm just marking that, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. Put a mark there. And a mark there. Using my paper snips, which are here, I'm just going to cut from that one point to the second point. So I'm just taking that little centimetre bit out and doing the same on this side, from that mark over to that mark, and snip it. Now this is when I then check it to see if I need to slightly trim that more, because when you fold the paper, it may not line, it might not be exactly, those marks might not be exact, and we want to be able to fit it so that it fits neatly onto the card base. And that's just pushing that ever so slightly. So I'm just going to take the tiniest, I don't even know if you can see that little bit that I took out. It was so tiny. And I think just a smidgy bit. I mean, you can barely see how fine that is. But of course it's easier to take little fine bits off than it is to add. You can't add it basically. And there, that marries up nicely now. So now, using my Stamparatus again, if I can see what I did with it, there it is. I'm just going to bring that back. I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal and put the Stampin' Seal on here. Okay, there's plenty of Stampin' Seal on there now. And so using the Stamparatus, I'm just going to butt it up to the bottom and to the side, and then I'm just going to let it drop down, and it should drop down perfectly in place. So there shouldn't be any paper hanging over. There might be a little bit on that because the 7.5 centimeters might not have been absolutely perfect, but I'm happy with that. And then on here, I'm just going to open the flap up, then just pop a little bit of the multi-purpose glue You only need a tiny little bit, because all you're doing with this, or you could use a glue dot or a little bit of adhesive, and I'm just going to stick that down, just to hold it with my finger for a bit to let it dry. Now, I'd already put the dimensionals on my picture panel, so if I remove the dimensionals, that's all removed. I haven't got my rubbish bin, it's all right. And then I'm going to lay that where that piece of card's folded over, just giving it an even border all the way around. Just like that. So that is our card finished. And I tell you, these are really effective and yet simple and quick to do. We've done that really quickly. So, you know, it is a really wow card for a recipient to receive. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you'd like to receive my weekly free tutorials, they are produced by myself and also a group of other Stampin' Up demonstrators in the South Pacific and the UK. And I send them out once a week on a Friday. So if you'd like to sign up to receive those videos, please drop me an, or you can drop me an email at trish@handmadebytrish.com, or visit my website and you can contact me via my website, www.handmadebytrish.com. If you've liked this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.